Hey guys, welcome back to another fun-filled episode of the Fake Nerds Watch. I'm Ryan Leopoulos. I'm joined with Sparkz and Brandon T. McClure over there, talking about episode 8 of Lovecraft Country, Jig-A-Bobo. I'm sorry I had to say that. It's a terrible title. But that's what they do. It's how they get you. We're going to talk about another spooky episode, Brandon, as I've learned from your Twitter. That's why I said fun-filled episode. This was a haunting, chilling, spooky episode, much like every other episode. But I thought it was great. But I want to hear from you, Brandon, because I saw your Twitter.
I thought it was great too. But I did not have a good time watching it.
Yeah, did the spooks get you?
There's a moment later in the episode where I was about 22 minutes into the episode. No, it was 22 minutes towards the end of I was like 22 minutes left of the episode, and I pause it because she's in the alleyway and she's on her bike, and she's looking. And I'm like, okay. So I decided to tweet every single time I go to press the play button, I tweet instead because I got so scared to keep going. And so like after a while, and my Twitter was basically just like, I should be clear, I'm still paused. I haven't played. I'm just still terrified.
Yeah. Those two super talented little ladies really killed it in the show and metaphorically. Yeah, definitely like Lovecraft It Follows.
They're a nightmare all down the street.
Yes.
Very Freddy inspired.
Freddy inspired. Yeah.
In case you didn't catch the jumping girls.
Yeah.
But the girls themselves are very Freddy. It's the same. Like in a sense, what she's running from is like, if she gets caught, what we now know is she's gonna pass out. She's gonna fall asleep.
Yeah.
They're gonna catch her. She's got to stay active. She's got to stay awake. She's got to stay running.
Yeah.
It is loosely Freddy.
Yeah. It's a lot of different old and new horror tropes, which this made for a really engaging episode for poor little D. I thought, this whole season, we only have 2 episodes left. This whole season's been really great. And I'm just like, man, there's so many threads. And I'm just like, there's definitely got to be a season 2, right? They can't do this in one season. I love these characters too much. I don't know.
But we'll get to it because we like to go forward. But like the reveal of the book from last week, our speculation being what that book could be, being almost completely wrong.
Yeah.
Wild. The girls were not fun. And that alleyway sequence, they have their eyes are glowing red. And I didn't appreciate that.
I big fan of spooky eyes.
Then that song is so well played throughout the what's the song called? The like knocking?
Knock, knock, let me in. Yeah. I forget. I don't know what the name of the song exactly is called.
But the way the score takes it, and whenever they show up, you hear just the knocking. It is so terrifying and so creepy. It really stressed me out. This is the first episode I watched alone because Zara is with her family for the month, and I came home to watch this, and it was not a good time.
Yeah, it was. I feel like every episode is my favorite episode because they introduce
the song is called "Stop That Knockin'."
Stop That Knockin'. Every episode introduces something just so either sinister or cool or creepy, and I'm just like, man, this is so dope. But why don't we get right into the episode? Why don't we get up into a sad funeral? How about that?
Yeah. The large gathering for the funeral of Emmett Till.
Yes, who has had his own kind of he's a real person who was killed, but he's had like his own mini arc in this show because you meet him early on hanging out with Dee's friends, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go take a family trip."
Yeah, I'm pretty sure when we did that, you talked about like
the Ouija board.
Yeah, the Ouija board. I'm like, oh, am I gonna have a good trip? And it went straight to no. And then like the next episode, like, oh, like say like she sees DC's Bobo for like the last time, and then he goes off, and then that's the last we see of him until this episode. But it's a very, very, very hot day, and there are thousands and thousands of people at this funeral because this boy was he was shot and he was barbed wire around the neck and he was thrown into a river. And that's really horrific, for obvious reasons. But
I don't want to say this features the one moment where like cops are nice, because that's not what it is. But it is the one moment where like cops show any amount of sympathy for the community, because there's one cop who's trying to like, you know, everybody keep moving along. We don't want to have to stop this.
Yeah.
They're trying to control it, but they're trying to somewhat be respectful, which is rare in this show.
Yeah.
It's still, they're not great. It doesn't absolve anybody of anything, but like, it was nice that there's some amount of like, hey, we acknowledge this was really bad.
Yeah. I
just appreciate that, like, not every time a cop shows up on screen, he has to be the scum of the earth.
Yeah, because Lancaster is that guy 100% of the time. Yeah. Dee makes a note where she like smells something, and I think it's supposed to be Emmett's body.
Yeah,
because it's so hot. The rotting body, which it makes for a fun callback later, which I didn't catch on until somebody pointed it out to me. What then is that when Dee like runs off?
Well, Dee runs away.
Not quite. I did want to just cover some things like they're all discussing if it's good to have Dee going here and doing this. And Montrose, I'm quoting him directly, has the line where he says, "It's every Negro's rite of passage," which is a really sad but powerful line. To have to acknowledge about it. And we also have a whole portion where Letty and Atticus are discussing if they should tell Diana about her mom. Because it's been a while.
Because Hippolyta is...
And they don't know where she is.
Yeah, so Dee, her dad is dead. Her mom is missing. And now one of her best friends is dead. Yeah,
she's having a really bad time. And this is when she runs off.
And then this whole episode's about her. So man, she's had a rough couple weeks, let's say. Yeah.
But you know, she has also her own little arc in this kind of like, you know, she's confused about what's going on in her life, and then she kind of like takes charge of what's happening.
Yeah.
Which I liked.
Yeah. Me too. She goes off and she throws rocks at some other kids that are just being kids.
Yeah, some young girls.
Like, there's nothing to laugh about today.
Yeah, so some young girls are just having fun.
Some young African American girls who are having fun and laughing, and she just yells out, "There's nothing to laugh about today."
And
she's in a bad place.
Yeah, and this I forget. I don't remember her name, but the actress, she's so good, and like it's so hot, right? And like she's just profusely sweating, and she's just so mad and so sad. And through this whole episode, I feel like she's just at like 150% at all times. And it's just like, oh, this poor girl. She's going through
Jada Harris.
She's going through so much. And I'm like, man, she's so good. Oh, she's gonna have a long career.
Yeah.
She's so good.
Yeah. She's doing great.
Yeah.
The police find her though.
Lancaster.
And they have her comic.
Favorite police captain.
This poop face.
Yeah. Mr. I got a black chest, and we don't know why.
Yeah. So he comes up and he asks.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
So, I was going to say is like he's interrogating her about where her mother is.
Yeah,
where her
because they found the comic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they put a little curse on her.
Yeah, they do something.
And they ask her if she knows anything about magic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, well, you do now. And they do a little chalk outline, a little spit to the forehead, some gross voodoo shit.
Yeah, that was real gross.
And then, yeah, it's real gross. And then we get the Dutch angle, and it's like things are like, oh, okay, so it's already started. Bad things are.
She's got bad juju on her.
She's got bad juju on her. Yeah, camera angles are changing.
We talked about it. We talked about it a bit when I spoke about the song that's being used, the knocking song. But I just wanted to highlight. I think all of the musical choices were some of the best of the series so far.
Yeah.
You know, it opens with a cruel, cruel summer.
Yes. I think all the music across the board of this show is really good. But yes, this episode was also exemplary.
Yeah.
I
wanted to say that.
The cream of wheat guy, just like a poster when Dee runs away, and his eyes follow, and I'm like, man, like 5 seconds in, and this girl's cursed. Oh my god.
Yeah.
It's awful.
If she'd hung around longer, I wonder if instead of the two girls, it would have been
he would have like popped out.
Been the cream of wheat man.
Oh my! Imagine it's like she's got like a pot. She's like, that's awful. That'd be so scary.
That was some Pennywise shit.
Got a spoon and he's throwing it, checking it.
It's hot.
Honestly, I don't think I would have found that quite as terrifying.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, that's why they didn't want to go with him.
Yeah.
They went with the little girls.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Atticus goes to Letty's house no, sorry. Letty goes back to her house.
Yeah.
And there's somebody there. It's Gia.
Yeah, she's there, and I'm sure she expected Atticus, but nope, it's his new girlfriend.
So she's gonna tell her lots of things. While Atticus went and met up with Christina to learn how to cast a spell
at his mother's mausoleum.
Yeah,
which is the cool spot for all the kids, where all the cool kids go hang out.
In order to learn a protection spell, he gives her the key to the machine.
Hiram's.
And so she does teach it to him.
Yeah. She draws a little.
She definitely teaches him something.
Yes.
She teaches him something.
Yes. She draws a little thing like, hey, here's the protection spell. Here's what it looks like.
You are definitely going to be protected with the spell.
Yeah. And then as she's like walking out, he's like, yo, I know about the equinox. What's that about? And she's like, oh, you know about that. Well, that's how I become immortal, baby. And he's like, okay, cool. I'm sure that's not bad at all. We'll find out. I'm still unsure about Christina. She's got motivations on all the sides, I feel like. But then also at the end, I don't know. She's a conflicted cool character. I don't know.
I do like her, and I hope that her character rounds out by the end. Because I do think right now, especially knowing that Christina and William are the same person, I think that there's a lot of stuff that it can come together, but right now it's just hard to see the full picture.
Yeah.
So I just hope it does.
There's a moment that we'll talk about related to her later that leads me to say that I just don't think Christina is like inherently a bad person.
No.
I just do think that she is willing enough to sacrifice others to get what she truly wants because of what she's been after.
Yeah.
And if that has to be Atticus, it will be Atticus.
Yes.
But past that, I don't really think of her as like, I think if there were another way, she'd take it.
Yeah.
At any way she could.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Diana gets back to her home and Montrose is trying really hard to relate to her. I go back to like what we learned from the podcast that there was supposed to be the scene where he would have smacked the Coke out of her hand and hit her.
Yeah.
I go back to that and I'm like, man, how would that have informed this interaction?
Because his first instinct is to come at her with anger.
Yeah.
Yes. And then he tries to reset it. Because
I think that's like his number. He always goes to anger. Like first he did a tick, and then he realizes, okay, that's not. Maybe I should be level-headed and just talk to her, try to be a person, not knowing she just got cursed by an evil cop.
Yeah, he does start with sympathy, but then Diana lashes out.
Yes.
And Montrose is quick to, oh, you lash out at me, I'll lash out right back, and there it goes, and it's not helpful really to anybody.
Yeah.
Diana locks herself in her room, and Montrose is banging on the door, yelling at her. Bathroom. Yeah. It's a big bathroom.
It is.
And she starts hearing the messed up music and
she first tries to wipe off the spit off her forehead, and then she decides to put the cap on. But she turns on the music.
Yeah, she turned on music, and then the music got different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To drone out Montrose.
Yeah.
What's the book Uncle Tom's Cabin?
Yeah.
Because that started to get messed up.
Yes. Topsy, who's like the character in that book, slowly becomes more and more deformed and scary. Until he just can't handle it anymore, and she's got to book it. She's got to go.
Yeah.
She goes out the
window. Montrose does get in, and the music goes back to normal.
And the book's completely fine.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was hoping the book would stay crazy, but nah, it's got to be a hallucination.
It's got to be stuff that only she can see, just like Freddy.
No, it makes sense. I know.
Elsewhere, Ruby is being harassed by a white neighbor as she's trying to go back into William and / Christina's home.
Yes.
And she's not standing for this shit. And so he's like, are you the help? And she's like, no, I'm not the damn help. And that's about to go real nasty. And Ruby doesn't really know how to deal with the situation until
luckily
William shows up.
William's there.
Not because I'm saying like Ruby's incapable of it, but because Ruby is emotionally broken with what's happened that day. And she just doesn't have the way to deal with the situation.
Yes.
Doesn't have the will.
Composure.
So William makes it okay because he's white, and takes her into the house, and then we get some tender undressing, which is really nice. Yeah. And then he's bathing her, which is also really nice, very sweet, very romantic,
sensual.
And then she's looking in a mirror, and then she's before she's looking in the mirror, William he does kiss her, but she stops after a time because she's still obviously weirded out because it's Christina. And then she's staring in the mirror and she drinks the stuff and changes into a white lady and
Hilary Davenport.
Some real horrifying sex.
I really liked seeing the transformation from the other side. We never saw that before.
Yeah.
I appreciated that we saw this how it worked from the other side. But yeah, she transforms while she climaxes on him. And that was
her white skin falls apart and that lady just falls off of her.
And then
that is something.
And like she's laying on the bed and then half of Hilary Davenport's face is still here. So it's like half her face, half Ruby's face, and I'm like, oh my, you guys are kinky. Oh my god.
Yeah.
I was expecting William to turn into Christina.
Me too.
I thought they were gonna switch and like they were gonna oh like this is our true selves and we do like each other, but like it didn't do that, which is makes sense to the character,
right? And it's not the point of the scene, which we'll discuss later when Ruby lays it out.
Yes.
But Atticus has arrived at the house and he's noticed some shoes outside that house.
Yes.
And so
little shoes.
He goes in and sees that Gia is here. And Gia explains.
So Atticus's first words are, "So wait, you're a succubus?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, there you go. Well, yeah, okay, that makes sense.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Why didn't the barrier stop her? Stop Gia. She's magic.
She's magic, but she's not evil.
Oh yeah, it might be like a threat thing. Like the house doesn't see her as a threat.
Maybe. I can buy it. It is just strange because the house won't let in Christina or the cop, but Gia was able to go in just fine.
I wonder if that is a like an ethereal magic thing where like the spell knows if like the person has good intentions or not, that kind of thing.
Maybe.
That's a good point you bring up because that is the first time that a magic character has done that. So I wonder if it's like a D&D morality thing, like good people can cross it, but evil people can't, kind of thing.
Yeah, I'd be willing to buy that. I'm not saying it's a plot hole or anything. I just find it interesting that Gia was able to go in when they always make it a point that people with magic can't.
Yeah.
The other thing is that she could also just not be the Kimiho anymore.
Oh, she took her 100 soul? Yeah.
Yeah.
She does say the line, and I didn't want to harp on it too much, but she does say, I had to eat 100 souls.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
As in, she did.
Yeah. So now is she like... She could just... Yeah. Now,
I'm not saying like she did, but I'm saying the sentence that she says makes it sound like she consumed her 100 souls.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We were never sure if the 100 souls would actually cure her of being the Kumiho. That's what ends the curse. Yeah.
Right, but that is what the Mudang said.
Yeah,
is that would end the curse. So she might not be that anymore, but she's also now not the daughter.
She could still be like the two souls. They're not a monster, but now they're just two souls in one body now.
Yeah. Either way, I just think it's interesting.
Yeah. So you're a succubus.
Letty, Atticus wants her gone, and Letty is pointing out that the reason, because he's like, why'd you come all this way? Why didn't you call? And she says she came all this way because she loves you.
Yeah. She can tell.
And Atticus makes it clear that he wants her gone, and then he disappears chasing after Letty, who's super pissed at him for never telling her about this. And he's like, I don't know. How am I supposed to tell you about this? I don't even know how to process this.
Yeah, this is one of those situations where like I feel like Letty would be smart enough to realize the situation, but also in real life, people get mad about romance situations like this all the time for dumb reasons. So I can't get too mad at it when like, you didn't tell me about your ex, but
I do also think that there's something where the way that he brushed off Gia now looks not as honest.
Oh yeah.
From what we know, and also from Letty's perspective.
Yeah.
Because he tries to say like, it was like love. It ended weird.
Oh, yeah.
You know, he kind of dismisses it.
That's true.
This is obviously more than that. And I mean, this is landing into, I have no problem with this because I don't think you need to treat every character's romance like it's an OTP and it's obvious. And that's not how love works. Atticus is I would argue in a messy place because he has strong feelings for Letty, obviously, but he is not done with Gia. I don't mean like there still has to be romantic stuff, but he hasn't had any kind of closure or acceptance of moving on from that romantic situation. Yeah. He's just ignored it. So he's still got romantic entanglements there in here, regardless of if he'll act upon them in any way. That doesn't matter.
Entanglements.
And him having that, we know, is an amount of like him not wanting to talk about it with Letty, being dishonest about it. It was more than just the Kumiho.
Yeah.
It was also, I really cared about her, and I don't want to think about the fact that I loved her, and the only reason I left is because I got scared
of her her butt tail.
I did like the line where she's like, I was a Kumiho. What's your excuse?
Yeah.
Yes, and now I will say that I think Atticus probably has a different perspective about all these things now.
Yes.
Than he did when he said what he said about Gia to Letty, because we now know he's been to the future. He's seen his son.
Yes.
Or he's aware of his son's existence. So he knows that Letty's pregnant at this moment, which we learn later in the episode, which I do think could change how Atticus now feels more strongly romantically towards Letty. And he's like, yeah, that was dumb. That kind of, but regardless, like when Atticus had that mentality of what he was saying, I do think like he was coming from a place of a lot of conflict, and that's why he's trying to shove Gia out so fast too.
Yeah.
It's I need you to not
also
interfere with this. I cannot address this.
Exactly, because like he's dealing with so much now to bring up his ex-girlfriend Succubus that's a whole other season. Like we don't have to, I can't do it. I'm sorry. It's too much. It's too much.
It's a whole episode in another location and time. Yeah.
We only got 2 more episodes, Gia. I'm sorry. I can't.
I'm glad they brought her around because it would have felt like where that story went was disingenuous.
It would have been
I'm
nowhere.
sure we haven't seen the end of her.
I'm sure she's involved in the end.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how.
Yeah.
But Letty's really pissed at him for that. Atticus is very emotional and trying to shove that aside and say, like, I'm going to cast a spell to protect us. And we do know that the us that he's referring to, because you're, as the audience, kind of meant to believe that he's just thinking of him and Letty, but he is very impassionately thinking of his kid as well.
George, I knew from the moment the episode started, and he's just like, "Are you okay? Do you need to sit down? Do you need to drink? Do you need to drink water?" I knew he knew she was pregnant.
Yeah.
He was being way too.
You're sharper than I am.
He was being way too comforting, I felt, and I thought personally, that I had missed a scene, that I just forgot a scene that he found out. That they just
no, it's just we just don't know he went to the future yet.
Yeah,
so he knows things we don't know yet. Yeah,
which is crazy.
So Atticus is convinced he has no choice but to take action, and whereas Letty was kind of rushing him away, he's now rushing off.
Yeah,
and then she's concerned about him. Yeah. We don't see Gia again for the rest of the episode, so we'll have to see where she pops up again after that.
She's just hanging out in the crib. Who knows?
Her heart's hurting.
Yeah.
Tails are hurting.
Ruby challenges Christina's perspective on Emmett and wants to know how she feels about it.
Why don't you care?
She wants to know if she feels the way she does. She wants to know that she cares, that it affects her because she feels so broken. And she reveals that in her mind, she took the potion because she needed to not be a black woman banging a white man that day.
Yes. And she gets a very passionate speech with like tears in her eyes.
Yeah, and it's a really powerful and moving moment. And Christina comes right back with a no, I don't care. And I don't think you do either.
Straight up gaslights her, dude.
Because all you wanted was to be anybody else but that.
Yeah.
And not have to think about it so that you didn't have to feel guilty about what you wanted for yourself.
So you could be selfish. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's straight up gaslighting. That's horrible. If the thing if it wasn't for the scene at the end, I'd be like, oh man, Christina, I don't know about you anymore.
Right.
Like this is supposed to be the character you do care about. And I was like, this isn't a good sign. I don't like it.
Well,
I didn't feel good.
I don't know if Christina is wrong though.
Oh.
I don't think she's entirely right, but I also don't think she's entirely wrong. I think there is a nuance there that Ruby wants to convince herself that she is not being selfish in that moment. But you don't know what grief is going to do to you. You don't know that grief is not going to, like, you know, if you grieve over someone and you want to just be like, I just want something for myself, you're going to feel guilty about that no matter what, because you're like, I shouldn't want that right now because someone else has it worse than me. So I do think that there's a sense that Christina is right about at least some part of it.
Yes, I mean, I'd agree. Like, those things are not mutually exclusive from each other.
Yeah.
She can not want to be a black woman having sex with a white man, but also want to be having sex with her partner who is white that time. And those two things not be eliminating of each other.
Yeah.
So I think Christina's right about that. The more important part, I think, isn't that where she's throwing that back at Ruby. It's the fact that she just opens directly with, no, I don't care, which I respect about the character choice, because I feel like if Christina had said yes, it would have felt disingenuous.
Yeah,
sure.
And this is Christina. Christina is like, no, I don't think it's callous either. I think it is coming from a place of, to be
honesty.
honest, I didn't even think about it.
Yeah, it's just being honest.
I don't care because I didn't think about it because I'm doing other things.
Yeah.
And it doesn't affect me because she's not part of that community. She doesn't understand that. She has no reason to.
Yeah.
And the most important thing, the most important thing is what she does later, because that's the most important thing white people who are trying to understand what minorities are going through are supposed to do. We have to try to empathize and we have to try to learn, because we will never truly understand because we're not going through it. Exactly. So Christina does what she can do of that version of doing that. So I really appreciate the writing of it. I'm glad that that's the way her response was, even though it's kind of gutting in the moment.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's interesting that, you know, Christina, if you think about it, has never really been raised to think of empathy. Like, she's definitely always been like, I'm out for myself because nobody is going to do it for me. I need to do this for myself. So she's always looked out for herself, and she's always been selfish in that sense. So thinking about, I think learning about this moment, and then what we see towards the end, I think is her kind of, you know, coming to terms with an empathetic part of herself that she's trying to lock away.
I'm gonna push back on that a little bit. This idea that I will say that Christina's raised in an environment that doesn't provide empathy, but Christina is empathetic. She's just not directly empathetic on things like race issues. We know this because we've seen Christina give birth to the Shoggoth. We've seen Christina play with kids.
She helped Letty.
We've seen Christina love Ruby, which she seems to genuinely do. And we've seen Christina have I had another point. Care about William. Christina genuinely cares about William. She believes what she's doing in a way is honoring and saving him. That was a person she cared about. Probably the only person in her environment who taught her to care about other things, based on what we know of it. So I will say that I do think Christina is empathetic. She's just not directly in tune with like race relations empathy.
Sure. Okay. Also, I'll refine then and just say that I think she's definitely got a one-track mind when it comes to her goal.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And this would take away from her goal.
I do think she didn't plan on having feelings. Like she planned on using Ruby for whatever means she needed to, but I don't think she actually planned on developing love. Yeah. Ruin everything.
I want to be clear that we don't even really know that there are means that she needed Ruby for. She picked Ruby out of attraction. At least all appearances up to this point say she picked Ruby because she was watching Letty and Atticus and saw Ruby, was attracted to Ruby, and went for that.
Yeah. And I guess the one thing that she was needed for, like the that party or whatever, that was done and over.
She could have done that she could have done that with any other black person.
Yeah.
She could have.
Yeah.
She chose Ruby for that, and she chose Ruby for everything else for a reason. And the reason would imply to be not some kind of like ulterior motive like she has with Atticus.
Love.
It would be attraction.
Sure.
It would be interest.
Romance. Lovecraftian romance.
Anyway, there's some jump roping girls that are super duper Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, we hopped to Elm Street real quick.
And Diana is getting there to Letty's house, and Letty's taking off because she's distressed about Atticus. So she's kind of ignoring what Diana's trying to express, which sucks.
Yeah.
I got a little mad at Letty.
Well, here's the
that
thing.
scene, yeah.
So
So
Letty is being dismissive. I get it. I do get it because she's concerned in that moment. Like, I mean, and we now know that what she did is she just called Christina, or contacted her, or summoned her in some way because she knows she's going to meet her.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So she's all kinds of pent up about that, and but when you do come at it, even ignoring like Diana's current nightmare situation, Diana having just lost her friend, Letty is pretty dismissive, and unemotionally available. However, Letty would have been there for her had she known what was happening, but Diana is physically incapable of telling her.
She's cursed.
She cannot speak the words to what's happening because she tries to ask if she sees the things that are coming for her.
I totally get that. But when she's like, when she's like, I can't breathe, when she's like doing this, I think Letty should have been like, wait a minute, what's happening?
Just like, go get some water.
She's like, go get water.
And what it is that Letty has tunnel vision and hubris in the moment because she thinks that the only magic shit that's happening is happening to Atticus and her.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She still doesn't know what's happening to Ruby. She doesn't know what's happening to anybody else. It's happening to Atticus and her and kind of a little bit Montrose.
Yeah.
So she doesn't even think that Diana's in that sphere.
It's that little bit
of influence.
Again, it's a little bit of that, of her just kind of being a selfish character in a way.
For sure. And that's a part of who she is.
Yeah.
She
Again, all these characters are flawed, which is nice.
So she goes running off to the back of Letty's house and she comes upon Hippolyta's car. That wasn't great. And is very quickly chased off by Topsies.
Oh God, these things.
Yeah, they're like doing some sick dance moves. Like one of the girls is like doing like the backwards head thing, and like
they're not really rushing. They're dancing their way to her.
They're just like bobbing their way there
joyfully. Yeah,
it's
they're
like
taking their time.
Yeah,
we didn't talk about when they first showed up, which is at the train station.
Mm-hmm. Oh yes.
Which oh boy, when she looks over at the dark thing, I'm like, oh shit.
Like, and then keep coming up, and I'm like, what's going on?
Because it's working backwards.
Head turned backwards. Yeah.
And
then the other one shows up and talks to that one, and then that one goes, oh, and yeah.
That hurt. Just like looking at that, like, oh, you're too young. My back hurts just looking at that. Oh god.
I did not enjoy. I have liked every single episode. This episode is no exception, but I did not have a good time watching this episode.
That just means it was effective. That means it did its job, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hate it, but it did.
Imagine like you're just watching like two girls just be like shimmying and it's like that's not scary at all, but they made it scary, man. Yeah. Oh my god.
I really want Brandon to watch the first season of Haunting at Hill House and just ghosts. Have those shots where he's watching the action and all of a sudden realizes that there's a ghost in the background that's staring at him.
Every single episode has a ghost in it. It's too spooky. That's a good one.
Well, Zara and I have talked about it. We'll watch it eventually. She wants to watch Blind Manor.
Nice.
So.
Good.
We just started. It's good.
Yeah.
Montrose says because he runs into Atticus, and Atticus.
Montrose is sitting on the street.
Yeah.
And Atticus runs into him.
Yeah.
I like the scene a lot, guys. I like the scene a lot.
Atticus wants to know if he ever cheated on Dora. And he says no.
Yeah.
And he tells him about his entire history.
And he asked him, did your mom know? Did she know?
No, he asked that before.
Did he? I thought it was.
No. Oh, okay. In the previous episode, he challenged that out, and that made him mad.
That's right.
This is when, because that's the first thing is because Montrose is expecting a different conversation with him.
Yeah.
And Atticus just jumps to, did you cheat on mom?
Yeah.
Because that's clearly what's been on his mind in relation to him.
Mm-hmm.
Montrose tells him about his entire history of why he chose to ignore it. That his entire life has been, I decided not to be that.
He tells a story about when he was like a child and he was 8. He was 8 and he met up with like a dude, which obviously is wrong.
It was the pastor.
Well, there were rumors that the pastor. There were not rumors, but it was the pastor was caught with someone. He doesn't say it was him, but the pastor was caught with someone, and the pastor tried to wipe it away as rumors, but he ended up in an insane asylum. Montrose said, "I chose a life instead of an asylum."
Yes, he chose to ignore his desires because his one major early representation of someone who may or may not even have been gay, but was punished like he was. Was, well, I don't want that. I'm already black.
Yeah. Which is real sad.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really love just the two of them, Montrose and Atticus, sitting there, just kind of finally having that heart to heart. And you know, we knew that Atticus's anger didn't come from the fact that he was gay. It was that he was gay and he beat him for being weak. So having this kind of like catharsis moment for Atticus.
Yes, it was that he beat him to keep him from being soft, while in terms of the time period being soft himself.
Yeah. He was taking it out on his son in a way.
Yes.
Which is
not even taking out,
but even Montrose like says like, you know, I still loved you.
Yeah.
Like I just wanted to raise you right.
Which leads to Atticus revealing that he knows that Letty is pregnant.
Yeah.
He knows it, and he knows because he went to the future, and he has a book that his son wrote.
Yeah, but do you remember who gave him the book?
It was
very important.
A woman a hooded woman with one arm.
A robotic
arm, right.
That's very important for something that happens later in this episode, I'll say. We'll get when we get there.
I don't know if I caught that. I can't wait to find out what that is.
Yeah.
Anyway. Oh yeah, but he says that he went to all the white people were upset about something. I think he went to 2020.
A hooded. It would make sense. It's a hooded woman with a robotic arm pushed him back through the portal.
Yeah, and gave him the book.
Yeah,
I really like meta stuff like this because we talked about it in the first episode how things were different already from the book. The names are different. In the book, George doesn't die at Arnhem. He's supposed to be in the story where they go to the museum. Gia has a different name. So there's, that was the confusion when she's name dropped for the first time.
Yeah.
So when he says all these things, I really just kind of like those meta moments that the show allowed to have, where it's just like, yeah, there is a book called Lovecraft Country, and the things are different, but this is like the true story of what happened. I like that.
I do too a lot, and it goes back to that Gia tick moment where she's like, "Oh, I read the book, or I saw the movie. I don't need to read the book." But the ending's different. Book, and it's a callback to that. We're like, yeah, you know the book, but this is not the book. Like things are getting different.
There's my note. He says this later in his conversation with Montrose when they're in the room working on the spell. That's when he tells him about the woman with the hooded woman with the robotic arm on the street. Gotcha. I had to look down in my notes, and it's there.
Gotcha.
We combined it. We combined two scenes, I think.
Part of it. Because he's going to ask Montrose to help him with a spell.
Yeah.
I'll put a spell on you.
Letty is in church praying for Atticus's protection and for Emmett's family.
All alone in this big ass church.
Until Christina shows up. And she learns that Letty got faith after her resurrection. And they discuss magic versus religion.
Mm-hmm. Did I say it was a fun callback because we talked about it in the last episode. I don't know if I said it in the last episode because we were pretty tired towards the end of that. But when she finds out she's pregnant, she's repulsed by garlic. And, we talked
references
about,
back to the Dracula thing that we were talking about. Yeah, her as an amalgamation for Dracula. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that they tie it in really well.
Yeah, I thought that was cool.
Yeah. She offers the negatives of the pages to Christina in order for her to make Atticus invulnerable. Christina says she will not do it for him, but she will do it for her.
Yeah.
Letty ultimately accepts, and she gains the mark on her stomach, which we now know is the exact same mark we saw on William. And thus the same mark that is on Christina, though not 100% in the same place.
Just a little more down.
Yeah. So she and Letty are both invulnerable.
Hell yeah. Couple of cool ladies.
Diana is watching the cops, Lancaster, and she's hanging out at the end of an alley. No, Brandon?
This is what I call the episode.
On her bike.
I'll be real clear right now. I considered not finishing this episode.
It was too good.
That long shot of darkness in the alley where you're like,
they hold it for the longest amount of time where it's like it's almost too long, and then
the last bit is like the hand right at her back, and then they cut to the shot of the cops going down the street, and there's a long pause before Diana goes after them on the bike, and you're like, oh, did she just get got?
Yeah.
Are we just not going to see her bike go after them? What's happening?
I had the Wikipedia page open to the episode, and I was like, I could just read what happens. I could just read it.
Yeah, that definitely did happen when she did that. I agree. Yeah.
So like, that's what I was thinking about. Like, could I fake it? I think I could do that. But I decided
but maybe you shouldn't live that hard up to the name.
Yes. I love their fingernails. Their nails like they grow like Pinocchio.
Yeah.
Super spooky, man.
Yeah. If either of you have ever seen Tales of Halloween, which is a collection of a whole bunch of shorts, I'm pretty sure we've watched this.
I think you watched. I watched it with you.
So there's the one where it's the woman who's like trying to get her husband can't give her a baby, and she's basically a witch, and so she's actually thinking about stealing a kid that comes trick or treating.
Yes.
And when it shows her in her witchy form, she has hands that are like that, like with the long blood fingers that are coming over.
Big fan.
Anyway,
watching them come to the alleyway. I don't think I'm gonna sleep tonight, guys.
just watch something.
Let's watch something funny.
I've been
that was
watching
7 hours ago.
I've been watching at 2:00. You were tweeting at 2:00.
I have been watching West Wing ever since, and I still can't think about this.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man. Guys.
I'm not gonna send you the song in the middle of the night. No,
just send them a picture of the GIF of them coming up the stairs. God,
I know why their hands bother him. It's because they're too similar to the Babadooks.
Oh, just add a snake and it's all three. It's just all three.
What if it's just the Babadook and the two kids together
and Snake Lakes?
Here's the thing.
Anyway,
so the snake dick. I said that the snake dick was the most terrifying thing I have ever seen in the show. I take that back. It was these two girls.
Yeah. It was.
Then it's the snake dick.
Yeah.
Love sausage.
God.
Atticus tells Montrose that Hiram's machine is damaged. And this is where he explains that he was only in the future for a second before the hooded woman with the robotic arm pushed him out.
It's almost as if like she knew where to be exactly at the right point or something.
The book is a bit different, like Brandon was mentioning earlier. I'm pretty sure, I don't remember who it was, but I'm pretty sure they say someone else is a different gender.
Yeah.
But Christina
is a boy.
Yeah. But Christina sacrifices him to gain immortality on the autumnal equinox. That still happens, which is interesting. Huh?
Oh, sorry. I was going to say Dee and Christina are men in the book.
Yeah. So there's a funny thing where this is very much like the difference between the iterations of Count of Monte Cristo, which was talked about in between the film and the. It's very much calling back to that. Montrose is determined to save his son.
Yeah.
Which is really nice.
Good dad, finally.
Wait, is this where we get to? Are we at the spell scene yet?
No, we kind of bounce between this and Diana busting in on the cops.
Okay. Well, I'll wait for my comment.
We'll come back to it in just a second. Diana busts in on the cops. She challenges Lancaster to know what he did to her.
Man,
he says he wants the orrery.
That is how ballsy is that?
It.
She just
Girls
runs into the
dude's girl's scared out of her wits, and she's not having it.
No, I get it. It's just like it's everything that everyone's been on through the show. I'm like, I just don't see anyone else doing that. And then she's just like, yo, man, I got no other options. I'm gonna run into this police precinct.
Runs into this dude's lodge and is just like, what the hell did you do to me?
Yeah. Because from her perspective, she doesn't know that the others know about this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So she's like, all I got to go on is they definitely did this to me. So what the heck?
The cop initially called Hippolyta an African name because she couldn't pronounce it.
Yes.
And then Dee has a fun moment where she's just like, it's Greek, you idiot.
Yeah.
You ignorant son of a bitch. Lancaster's kind of impressed with her spunk. He says that if she gets him the orrery, then he'll release the curse. She instead spits on him, tells him F you, and also bounces.
Yo, this place stinks.
Yeah.
I mean, she smells the dead body that's in the closet.
The rotting
body.
Yeah.
Get that thing out of there, man.
And Lancaster decides he's going to move on Einstein. Hiram's Epstein's house this night. Meanwhile, she goes back outside and she gets on the bike, and there's one Topsy coming at her, and she's like, all right, going down the other corner, and there's the other Topsy coming after her with the shadow reflecting on the back of the building. And Diana's just like, I'm just gonna scream and yell at this thing, and I'm gonna go right for it.
Yeah.
And she ducks it, and she goes past, and she's on her way.
Those eyes, man.
Now we go back to the scene where they're working on the spells, which is where Montrose reveals he's been dyslexic his entire life.
I love that. I love that so much. When he's just like, I'm dyslexic. What? Since when? Forever.
And there's a very pointed line where Atticus is like, I wonder what other secrets you're keeping from me. And his dad's like, yeah.
Basically looks at the camera.
Yeah.
Let's just do this.
I said like, nothing.
My child, my only son. Definitely my child.
Yeah. So he works on trying to cast the spell. Atticus is standing in the circle. Nothing seems to happen.
Oh, do you think he knows that he's not Montrose's kid?
I don't think he had enough time to know.
No, because
he read the book.
But that doesn't mean for sure that that's in the book.
True. It is. Yeah.
That's a good point.
I feel that is a good question, but I feel like the conversation they had this episode would be different.
I think him having already told him everything he learned from the book being different, if that were part of it, because he's already talking to him so openly about his gay relationship while with his mother, he would just say, so am I your son?
Yeah.
I mean, they did. Yeah, that's true. They did say that it wasn't.
That feels
from Atticus's perspective, he just doesn't have a reason to be deceptive and not direct about it.
Yeah. Montrose does imply, or more than imply, that his relationship with Atticus's mother was not physical at all. Because he said our love was based on having a family, and that was it.
I mean, but that doesn't mean that it wasn't physical. That doesn't mean that.
I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that it is implied to the audience that could be what that means.
No, but I don't think that's possible.
Familial means having children. Even just having sex once is having a family, never to do it ever again.
I don't think that's what it can mean, because George, when he's dying, they acknowledge that neither of them know for sure, which means he must have had sex with Dora at some point.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't be I don't know. I mean, I never went in, but I don't know. He definitely did. It might not have been a frequently physical relationship. That's certainly can be part of the implication, but it doesn't mean that right out he never had sex with Dora.
I don't think all that stuff in episode.
I'm sorry. I want to jump off this topic because that's also not what I'm saying, which means I'm not saying it accurately, which means I would rather just pounce off.
Okay.
I mean, I agree with you on the point that there is an idea that their relationship was not very physical. That wasn't a huge part of what their relationship was. The spell appears to have failed. We go to Christina, who lowers her invulnerability, so some guys she paid can treat her exactly the way that Emmett was treated in his killing.
Yeah, so these guys are like, "Are you sure you want us to do this?" and then Christina's like, "You got your money, right?" And they're just like, "Sure, whatever," and then just brutalize her. Beat her up, shoot her, barbed wire, tie her to an anchor, everything that happened to Emmett Till. And then they
toss it, which she's tied to the barbed wire on, into the lake.
Yeah.
And she goes down, and we see her because she lowered her invulnerability, so she felt all of it. And then she comes springing back up, pulls herself
very
out
quickly,
and is crying as her invulnerability returns on her stomach.
I'm assuming that those gentlemen are probably sons of Adam's friends or whatever.
Something like that.
Because I doubt...
We know there are many lodges.
Yeah.
I doubt she just went to some random white dudes and went, you know what? Come do this to me.
Go to the Denny's and hey, you guys want to make a quick buck? And then I saw lots of different takes on what was happening in the scene, and I thought they were all wildly wrong. I think it's very, very obviously she's trying to she's trying to have some feelings to what Ruby's going through.
It's her trying to learn empathy.
I saw some like weird stuff, like she's trying to incite like a race war and stuff. I'm like, where are you guys getting this? What are you talking about?
How would she has no scars?
Because
like now it would be done to her.
Some white woman was just killed, so they would blame the black community. And I'm like, No, exactly. I think that's people reaching.
That's a terrible reason.
Yeah, I very quickly was like, no. She's clearly trying to be empathetic here. I don't know how that read got out there.
That's like one of the worst reads I've ever heard.
Yeah, and not just like out there, but like people like are talking about it.
That's like you're just not paying attention.
Yeah, that's for real.
You're looking as a white person to be offended.
Yes, I 100% think that's exactly what it was. Yes. And I'm like, how'd you guys get to episode 8 and not realize what else is going on in the show?
Right.
Oh my god.
Yeah, no, it's exactly what we were talking about before, where she's trying to understand, and you can't understand unless you experience.
Christina has the unique ability because of what she can do with magic to be able to actually experience what Emmett went through, which she thinks is the best way for her to understand and care about what's going on with the community. And it appears to have worked because she comes out absolutely weeping.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm very much looking forward to her next scene with Ruby.
Same. Oh man.
Based off that interaction and what Christina does from here in general.
Yeah.
The subtitles are interesting on her weeping. It says cry laughing on the subtitle.
In the language of Adam.
No, it's that. No, it says cry laughing in the subtitles.
I kind of get that because I wasn't sure if she was laughing or not
at the end
in the episode. But I do think it's predominantly. I think it is more. I would define it more as hysterical crying. Like, I think it's absolutely shocking to her how violent that
is. Hysterical recognition.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was my take.
Yeah.
Every time Christina gets one of these moments, which is like this, or her doing the hide and seek, I'm like, dang, you are a really endearing character.
Yeah.
I really want to root for you.
Yeah.
Because I think you've got a good heart in there. Anyway, Letty is looking at photos of her and Atticus in her little photo room.
Oh, yes.
And Ruby comes down and comforts her over her distress. Letty is telling her that she's pregnant, and Ruby drops that she knows everything, literally everything, 100% the entire time.
Shit. I know magic,
it, which I really appreciate. She just goes directly like, I know about that. I know about that too. Yeah. This also, and she reveals Christina's connection and involvement. Ruby has decided what she wants is her own space, and she knows she can do it with magic, which is what she wants with Christina.
Letty is like, he's just
suspicious,
like she's just using you, blah blah blah. And Ruby's like, girl, I'm using him, I'm getting everything I want, and he's cool with it. Like, this doesn't have to be antagonistic. Like, I can have this. After, again, like once we saw what happened with Christina, I'm like, this is a mutual a cool magic understanding.
Well, Ruby also doesn't know Christina's end game. She doesn't know what Christina's goal is.
Yes, because man, all the stuff that Christina and like with Tick and Letty, like it's all so separate from Ruby. But there's so much happening, and they're eventually going to collide.
And let's be clear, we don't really know what Christina's end goal is.
Immortality.
Because I'm going to say, well, we do know it's immortality. At least that's what she's saying, which I just still kind of don't believe that that's all of it.
Yeah.
But beyond that, like, I'm going to go out on a limb and say, like, they're going to be expecting Christina to want to kill Atticus as part of the autumnal equinox, and I don't think Christina's plan actually involves that at all.
Yeah,
I think that is going to be one of those things that's different from the book.
It's
that Atticus is like he's in danger, but it's not that red herring.
A red herring. Thank you, red herring. Because we definitely saw the future, so that thing happens, but that might not be him dying.
Right. I'm not saying
we don't see. Gia says that she doesn't see him die. She just kind of sees the moment of her. Because doesn't she say in this episode? Doesn't she? What are you saying? No.
She said specifically that she doesn't know how he died. He asked, "Do you know how?" And she said, "No." She does see him die.
That's why.
That's all she sees is the life leave him.
So don't go.
But she doesn't know how.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Don't leave.
Because that's the important part that Atticus wants to know.
And that's how he's Captain America looking machine or whatever. Yeah.
They are going back to Ruby and Letty. They are called up out of the house because the cops have arrived. Meanwhile, Diana is holding herself up in a garage. and she's bearing down one of the dancers. Montrose is going to come and help her.
She's doing it.
She's beating the shit out of one of the Topsies.
She's doing a real good job of keeping her at bay.
Keeping her safe, but Montrose doesn't understand what's happening. He grabs.
So there are two things I want to highlight in that moment before we get too far off it. It's that I just want to make a note. One of the Topsies decides to go through the door, turn and look at the audience, and smile, and then closes the door. Doesn't appreciate that.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, I think it's really smart of her. I think it's really smart of her, of Diana, that she drew them.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Because she quickly draws sketches of what they look like, so that hopefully, and what we saw in the trailer for the next episode, it helps them kind of understand what's been going on.
Agreed. That was very smart. Montrose, unfortunately, really not understanding what's going on, tries to grab Diana, distressed about her, which ultimately allows the Topsies to get their hands on her.
Yes.
Starting an infectious black ooze mark happening in her arm.
Yeah. So
she passes out.
One of her arms starts getting it looks like the nails are digging in, and this black stuff starts to go up her arm.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying that
which Montrose can see that part.
I'm not saying Dee's the lady in the future, but I'm saying Dee's the lady in the future. It's super. I think that's hilariously. That's it. There we go. Bing bang bong.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. That's a good point.
Oh yeah, that's exciting. I want to see that.
Time will tell.
Oh yeah. Time will tell.
The cop.
Lancaster
comes to the house, and he can't get in past the magic charm.
I like that.
And he gets real grumpy mad about it. So he has all the cops open fire upon the house. And Letty, with her invulnerability, realizes that the bullets are just bouncing around her. They are not touching her.
Because she knows she has it, but she doesn't sure how it works.
But now she realizes that. I really love that shot of her just sitting there like
she sits up.
Fuck this shit.
And then
and she's just watching, and she's like, son of a bitch.
And Atticus
arrives, and the cops turn and point their guns on him.
Atticus, no.
And Letty is panicked, and she's trying to run to him to get in the way of the bullet because she knows she's invulnerable, but she's not going to make it in time. A bullet goes off to go towards Atticus, and then from underneath the ground in front of him, a Shoggoth that is darker than all the previous Shoggoths.
Yes.
Arguably of a black skin rather than a white skin. Appears in front of him and starts tearing the cops to pieces.
I like this sequence a lot.
It looks like that spell might have worked, just not in the way he thought.
And Atticus gets to Letty, and the Shoggoth comes towards them, and he realizes that the Shoggoth, as it bows its head to him,
it is a form of protection.
No, exactly. Yeah.
As it bows its head to him, Hiccup and Toothless style, he realizes that it is his. He summoned it.
Yep.
It operates under his will.
People are saying and or speculating that this is the Shoggoth that was birthed, but I couldn't find a picture of what that baby Shoggoth looked like to see what color it was. So I cannot confirm or deny that.
Sure.
But I wouldn't be shocked if that makes sense.
No, I wouldn't either. I like that sequence a whole lot. You see a dude get thrown through a window. You see what's his face? Captain Dickhead. Like torn up. You're gonna something like thrown across the way.
I was expecting like one of our heroes to like shoot him or something, but to see him get torn up to shreds by monsters, pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm a fan.
That's the end of the episode. And then we see a preview for next week, and the whole gang's going to come together, including Christina. Everybody's in on everything that's going on to save Diana.
Oh boy!
I like episodes.
Still, no evidence of Hippolyta's appearance, at least in the preview.
But we do have to Hiram's. They go to Hiram's telescope, his time machine.
They do go to the machine.
Yep.
What we do see is that Montrose, Letty, Ruby, Atticus, Diana, and Christina are all going to be together in the same location, all doing the same
stuff.
the
whole team. Whoa, 2 more episodes.
I like it. I like it when the show finally gets to the point where like now we're all together, we're all fighting the bad guys together.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
That's the reason Hero Season 1 is as popular as it was.
It
was all about just get to that moment where they're all in one location.
The finale.
Save the truth, save the world.
Save the that's ingrained in my brain forever.
I know, right? That was a pop culture phenomenon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this was great. Really good episode.
Yeah, man. Every week, man. I love the show.
Notably, the other person we didn't see in the next episode preview is Gia. We still don't know where Gia's going to be.
Yes.
Oh
man, you got like Gia, who's like Korean succubus.
She definitely didn't just like go back to Korea.
Yeah, I can't imagine she's just on like another red eye back to Korea. Yeah, Hippolyta's. I don't know what's going on with her. Like, is she back to normal, or like did those crazy space gods like just give her power because she was like willing to go away, so they gave it to her anyway?
The implication,
is she gonna show up as Jesus? Like,
the implication to me is that Gia has to be involved in a lot of the story going forward. Certainly, if there are more seasons, because
the Mudang,
the Mudang said that there's a lot of death still ahead on her
bloodshed.
Journey. Yeah. So her journey can't be short, and there has to be a lot that happens.
Will she turn into a giant fox monster? I am saying yes. 100%.
Yeah, me too.
But certainly at some point.
Season finale, maybe.
I'm not going to commit to 100% it's this season. I do think that they do plan to do more. I think that they know they can play in this world for a long time, and I don't think that they're going to go straight to Gia doing her big moment this season.
I hope you're right.
They might.
I want to see a Ninetales.
I'm not going to bet on it. I'm not going to bet on it this season.
I'll be honest. I think I'm kind of I want to see how season 1 wraps up, because depending on how season 1 wraps up, I might not want a second season.
Yeah, because again, like, they are doing a lot of the book, but they are changing a lot. But again, like they are progressing through it. Like, there's not like, unless they want to just do like new stuff. I'm very curious to see how it ends. I'll say.
Me too.
What I will say is, like, for a show based off a book that's called Lovecraft Country, there's a lot more other horror stuff, because they've shown that they'll pull from other things that aren't Lovecraft.
Yeah.
And a lot more Lovecraft that they can mess with and pull from. And I do think that in some ways, because of how they've expanded the world, they've only scratched the surface.
Oh, absolutely.
So
what I mean is, it's interesting because like there isn't a sequel to the book, right? So like, if they'd be creating their own sequel, much like Watchmen did with HBO, like they'd be creating their own fiction to a fiction story, which is just super interesting and cool.
Yeah.
Because like, I'm totally down for that. Like, as long as that's good. Yeah.
I'm not concerned about it, because usually when you've got a team this good at HBO, where they have not forced a team to make a Watchmen second season, I think you can go, look, if they're doing it because they believe in it.
I was thinking about this the other day when we first heard about Lovecraft Country. Honestly, I thought we were going to get like a Lovecraftian version of Journey to the Center of the Earth and Journey to the Forbidden Island. Like, we were going to go through like the HP Lovecraft novels.
You got that in one episode.
It did. But you remember the whole point of that quote unquote franchise was that it was going to be Brandon Fraser and Josh Hutcherson going through different Jules Verne novels.
Sure.
And finding out that they're true, that everything was real. I thought that was going to be this. That this was going to be like, oh, this week we're going to the Mountains of Madness, and this week we're gonna find Cthulhu, and I thought it was gonna be that.
Yeah. To be honest, I expected that too, but the fact that, well, I mean, to be fair, Lovecraft doesn't just do that cosmic stuff. Like, he does do ghost stories and reanimation and stuff like that, but like, he is predominantly like a cosmic guy. But so it is nice that they are willing to branch out instead of just do, hey, here's what everyone thinks about H.P. Lovecraft. Like, no, let's go into all of horror. Like, it doesn't just have to be tentacles, even though I really love tentacles.
But the thing is, well, maybe we cut that part out, Ryan. You really love tentacles.
I'm scared to say it.
We
don't look at my history.
Prawnhub.com. I think it's just really cool that, it's called Lovecraft Country, not about Lovecraft at all. It's about the racial injustice through a lens of genre, through the lens of horror, through this period piece. And I always say I love period genre pieces, so I'm well into the show.
Yeah, it's
in many ways it is what the hosts of the podcast, the official podcast, have talked about wanting it to be, which is that it is them inserting Black characters and Black representation into avenues where they are rarely allowed to be this,
and didn't exist in Lovecraft stuff,
and where when they have usually been stereotyped and racially abused. And allowing them to dominate that sphere, and for that alone, it's very good.
One of the videos I watched that like talks about the recap, kind of like what we do, was talking about Uncle Tom's Cabin, and I haven't read that book, or I don't know if you guys have read the book. I don't know much about it, but from what I understand from the video I watched, that book helped propagate a certain stereotype of what little black children should look like, and that's why the Topsy looks like that, and it's like it's D running away from that stereotypical look of how they should look in also a way. And I think that's very, very cool and very scary too, of like, it's the same thing Hippolyta went through, like not trying to be what everyone thinks I should be. Yes. The show just is so good about that and on so many deep levels. I love it. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Lovecraft Country.
Great show.
Yeah.
All right, so that'll do it.
That'll do it.
All right.
That'll do
it. Let's see. Check out our other shows on this channel, this network, if you're watching this on YouTube, which of course you are. Make sure to like this video. Make sure to subscribe to this channel. We got a lot of cool stuff on here. Check out our other Fake Nerds Watch series. Swamp Thing is currently airing on the CW. Watch that on the CW, and then watch our after show.
My mom texted me asking me if I should watch Swamp Thing, and I was like, "Mom, I got a tattoo. That should tell you everything. Come on. That show's good. Watch that show. Please support that show."
We also have a Fake Nerds book club series, which is our freshman series, which we are currently going through. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers volumes 4 and 5 are up now. Volumes 6 through 8 are coming.
Yep.
When that is, it happens when it happens. That show is a little bit more lax than our other shows. We have Basement Arcade, Basement Spookcade happening this month.
Currently, it is. I'm looking at the date. It is the 11th. We will definitely have stuff on the other half of the month.
There you go. So stay tuned.
From the 15th on.
I feel like every time Brandon brings it up, he's like our boss checking in. Like, you guys worked on that project yet?
Yeah.
You worked on that spookiness yet?
Listen, we got a deadline. We'll get it. We're gonna hit the deadline.
Look, it is one of our shows, and I just want to be sure that it gets promoted.
No, I got you.
It's happening when it happens.
We also have our Fake Nerd podcast series, which we do every Sunday. Since the quarantine happened three years ago, we've been doing a live quarantine podcast on YouTube right here on this channel. So you can check that out. You're probably watching this next week. So we just did an episode on Vampires versus the Bronx.
Yeah.
I'll actually just try and have this up the morning of. So
there we go.
Then check out our episode of Vampires versus the Bronx.
No! Sorry. Are we still on, Brandon?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Emma was on my keyboard.
Oh.
My cat. Okay, real quick.
So then check out our episode of Vampires versus the Bronx. Coming in a couple of hours, I guess, if you're watching this when it first comes out.
Hey, that movie either rules or doesn't. We'll let you know.
Probably have watched this in like a week or so. So, like, it's there.
And stay tuned for our next week, for our next episode coming up, which is, I don't know. It is. Anyway, we'll just put something in after that.
That's pretty good. It is a Halloween movie.
And anyway, so yeah, check out all that stuff. Make sure to like, subscribe. Find us all on Fake Nerd Podcast on all the socials, fakenerdpodcast.com. I'm at BT McClure on Instagram and Twitter. Where can they find Sparkz?
You can find me not doing anything at all on social media because of midterms at Sparkz Witty on Instagram and Twitter, SPARKZ Witty.
And Ryan?
At DJ Tony Snark everywhere. Hey, find me on Twitter. Let's talk about X-Men. That's all I think about all day, every day.
Until next week, guys, stay fake nerds.
All right, give me like 17 minutes.
Cartoonish.
Yeah, I got my watch right here.
Oh, look at my wrist. I gotta go.
Sometimes like they wear it like this, and I'm like, oh, that's pretty fancy. Like,
I got one watch that I do that. I'm like, yes, I gotta go.
I want to have a watch right here and right here. So I'm just like, I can just look anywhere, just like, fuck, and I got watches all day, baby. One on my ankle. All right.
just hang on. I gotta tie my shoes. Oh, it's
well, I mean,
also
if you're
2
like,
o'clock.
sitting down, what if you're like sitting down and like you got like 2 girls right here, and you're like, wait a second, it's like 3:45.
No, but what if you're sitting down? You want to go? You're like, hey, what time is it? I gotta go. Just oh yeah, look at that. Time just flies by.
I gotta tell you that this is why people put wall clocks in rooms.
No,
so that you don't do this.
no. I just want an ankle clock now. Let's make it happen. Okay.